So we're sticking to just looking at triangles at the moment, and we are going to be looking at congruent triangles. So when we think of congruent shapes, we are thinking of shapes that are exactly the same size and exactly the same shape. So therefore, congruent triangles are triangles that are exactly the same size and exactly the same shape. So let's have a look at these two triangles here, and we're told that corresponding sides and angles will be the same size as shown in the triangles below. Now, if triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, we write that statement. That is a congruent statement. Have a look at it. Okay, that is a congruent statement. The thing that you should be seeing there is those three little lines there. That means congruent. Now, why are those two triangles congruent? Now, I've redrawn that second triangle so that it's sitting the same way as the first one. We know all the sides are the same because of the lines on the sides. So this one is the same as this one here. 1 dash, 2 dashes is the same as 2 dashes on the other one, 3 dashes, and so on. So the sides are the same length and they all have the same angle. So now I've rewritten that triangle so that it's sitting exactly the same way. And so this is why it's really important that we get the letters right, because you can see triangle ABC, the angle that is on A is the 75 degrees. And the angle that is on the D is also the 75 degrees. So the order there is important. When we look at the angle on B, the angle there is 85 degrees. So we are looking for angle E to be the next letter there. So ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. It also makes sense, therefore, that if two triangles are not congruent, then we use the congruent sign with a line through it. So 1, 2, 3, and the line, they are not congruent. Now, there are 4 different tests that we will use in order to work out whether two triangles are actually congruent to each other. So if the pair of triangles have exactly the same lengths in both the triangles, so they have equal sides, then they are considered to be congruent. The way to remember that is side, 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 S, S, S. The second rule, or the second test, if you like, to work out whether two triangles are congruent is if they have 2 equal sides and their shared angle, so the angle between the 2 equal sides, is the same angle. So if they are the same angle, the shared angle is the same, we say SAS, side, angle, side. That's the shared angle being the same and the side lengths being the same. This third test talks about the corresponding side, so the side that is sitting in exactly the same spot on both triangles, corresponding side being the same, and the 2 angles at either end of that being exactly the same as well. So that one and that one are the same, and that one and that one are the same. So obviously, angle, side, angle. But because we want to have something that we can remember, we say angle, angle, side. The last test we use on right-angled triangles. And so for this one, the hypotenuse has to be the same in the right-angle triangle, so they have to be the same length, they are equal sides, and we have to have one other pair of corresponding sides being equal. So this one and this one, they are corresponding because they're in the same spot, and they are equal. So when you have the hypotenuse and another side length, corresponding side length the same in a right-angled triangle, then they are congruent triangles. And we remember that one by RHS. So in this example, we're asked to write a congruent statement and then give the test which proves the congruence. So what we can actually see here, hopefully in triangle 1, if I start with the first triangle, and you can see that the 100 degrees is on angle A, so triangle ABC is congruent to triangle. Now, let's be really careful here. We need to make sure that we put the letters in the right order. Now, the 100 degrees was on the A in the first triangle, so in the second triangle, the 100 degrees is on the D, so that needs to go first. Between D and E is 3 metres, and between A and B in the first triangle is 3. So that's why if I go AB, then in the second one I have to go D, E and F. Now that's my congruent statement. That tells me that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. The last bit says to state the test which proves congruence. Well, in this particular case, you should be able to see that we have 2 pairs of corresponding sides that are equal. So we know that this one and this one are corresponding. We know that this one and this one are 6 and they are corresponding. And we also can see there that our angle is the same. So it is side, angle, side. That's what proves the congruence there. So let's do the same procedure for the next one. So I'm going to go triangle ZXY is congruent to. Now, what order do these go in? Well, you can see the angle on Z is 40 degrees, so I have to start with U for the next one because that's where the 40-degree angle is. And then we can also see that S has got the 75, which was the X in the first one, so it goes U, S, T. Triangle SXY is congruent to triangle UST. Remember, order is important. That's my congruence statement. The next bit wants me to say what test I use. Well, what test did I use? What can we see here? Well, that angle and that angle are the same. We can see that this angle and this angle are the same. And we also have 1 pair of corresponding sides, the same. Why are they corresponding? Because they're in exactly the same spot in the triangles. So therefore, what would be the rule that I would use? The rule would be angle, angle, side. I've got 2 angles and a corresponding side that are equal. Next example just wants me to give reason why they are congruent. Well, we need to still do exactly the same thing. So with this pair of triangles, again, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle. Now let's get the order right here. Triangle DEF. Again, we're looking at the sides. From A to B was equal to 6. From D to E was 6 in the second one. Now, as long as the order is the same in the first and the second one, it should be all okay. The last bit we need to do is state what rule we've used. So what rule did we actually use here? Give reason. So all the sides, all the corresponding sides are equal. So it is side, side, side. That's enough information to answer that question. So let's look at these 2 triangles, and again I'm going to start with A, and you can see the angle on A is 100 degrees. So triangle ABC, that's the order I like to do because it's alphabetical, and the angle of 110 degrees is also on D on the other triangle, so it's angle D. Now, between D and E is 5, and between A and B is 5. So that's the direction that I need to go in the second one. Now, why are they congruent? Well, you can see that that side and that side are equal, and they are in the same spot. They are corresponding and equal. This one here, the 10 and the 10 are also in the same spot, and they are equal. So they're corresponding. So therefore, what's the rule that I actually used? Side, angle, side. So looking at the next one, we're going to start again with triangle A, B, C. And on angle A there, you've got 80 degrees. So where's your 80 degrees on the second triangle? It is at D. Okay, your 60 degrees is on B in your first triangle, and it's on E in your second. So D, E, F again for this one. Now, what's the test that we used for this one? Well, let's have a look. 80 and 80 are corresponding angles and the same. We've got the 60 and the 60, which are the same. And the other thing that we need is the corresponding equal sides, which are those two there. So if they're corresponding and equal, therefore the rule that we would use is angle, angle, side. Now this last one here is a right angle triangle, and for a right angle triangle, what are the information that we need for them to be congruent? Well, we need to have the hypotenuse, remember the hypotenuse directly across from the right angle. They need to be equal, and we need to have one more pair of corresponding equal sides. So this one and this one are equal in the same spot, so they are corresponding. So how will we write that one? Well, that is triangle ABC again is congruent to triangle. Now again we can do DEF. We don't have any angles here, but between A and B is 4 and between D and E is 4. So you know what direction you need to go in order to write your congruent statement. So we've got our congruent statement, and the test that we used here was the right hand side rule. So we've looked at our congruent tests, we've looked at our triangles, and we've made congruent statements, and we've then said what test we actually used.